Young Democratic hopefuls are fighting back against Donald Trump and against members even of their own party. Elijah Manley, one of them, U.S. House candidate for Florida's District 20.
Hey, y'all. It's Elijah Manley, candidate for Congress in Florida's 20th Congressional District. We need to talk about the dangerous dismantling of our government led by Donald Trump and his billionaire buddy, Elon Musk. We need to stand up, we need to fight back, and we need to stop this administration. For generations, we fought for freedom because America made a promise. Work hard and you'll get ahead. But for too many, that promise was broken. In South Florida, we know people who make big promises. But when the time comes to fight for us, they are nowhere to be found.
Manley is taking on an incumbent in one of Florida's bluest districts, Democrat Sheila Cherfilis McCormick. He's 26 years old, has never held an elected office, and that is not stopping him, and neither are his odds of winning. Last election year, 96% of House incumbents won re-election. Manley's among a number of young Democrats hoping to change that. Can they reshape the party from within? There is a growing movement for change within the Democratic Party, and the cry is also coming from Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. This at a fundraiser in New Hampshire Sunday.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace.
Joining us now, Elijah Manley, U.S. House candidate again for Florida's 20th District. 26 years old, you've never held a public office. Why now? What prompted you to run?
Well, thank you, Marni, for having me, first of all. I'm a substitute teacher, a 26-year-old activist and organizer from South Florida. I'm running for Congress because I'm really scared of where the direction our country is heading in. We have an out-of-control regime in Washington that seeks to divide the American people, that are taking us away from our allies, and that is out of control. And we need new blood and new leadership. I watched as the Democratic Party had no strategy going into the new year, into this second Trump presidency. We had no strategy. We had no leadership on how to fight back against Donald Trump. I told myself, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and do nothing about it. I'm going to fight back. And I'm running against a congresswoman who took nearly $6 million allegedly and COVID overpayments from the state of Florida. We don't need that type of corruption in our party. If we're going to fight back against the corruption in Washington from the GOP, we need to be willing to stand up against it in our own party as well.
So you're ready for the fight, and you've got one ahead. 96% of incumbents, as I mentioned, in the House won their race for re-election. What's your response to that? And more importantly, what is your strategy?
Well, the strategy here is to show the people in Florida's 20th Congressional District where we've been wrong. And we have a congresswoman right now who took over $6 million in a COVID overpayment. That's corruption, plain and simple. And when I think people hear about that, they're going to want to look for something new. But we also need to fight back. This can't just be about my opponent. This is about healthcare. This is about the high cost of healthcare, inflation that is out of control, a housing crisis where people all across this country and right here in Florida's 20th District can't afford to live here. The people who work, the people who mop our floors, serve us our food, they can't even afford to live in the communities that they serve. That has to change. And I think people are ready for that change.
I mentioned Governor J.B. Pritzker is calling on people to protest and to stand up. We've also heard from Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan. She says it's time for Democrats to ditch the weak and woke reputation. Do you agree with her statement? And do you sense a divide in the party that you can help build a bridge to?
I think the American people are, like Senator Sanders said, the American people are not dumb. The American people understand what the term oligarchy means. But I don't even think there's a true divide here. I think what's important is we talk about what the vast majority of Americans believe, that we have a government where the billionaires like Elon Musk and others control the government. We have a government where these individuals are controlling our immigration system, they're controlling the cost of goods. And we need to talk about those working class issues. But I don't think we have to throw any community under the bus to do that. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
What's been the reaction, Elijah, to Democrats within the party to you primarying your opponent here?
I think a lot of people in the party understand that we have to root out corruption. You know, when we look at Elon Musk and we look at him trying to enrich himself, when we look at Doge and the dismantling of our federal government, it's pretty clear that there's corruption here. And in the Democratic Party, we can't, going into the midterms, we can't afford to have anyone in office engaged in corruption. Now, there are people, of course, who think that we shouldn't engage in primary fights and primary battles. I disagree. I think democracy is stronger when more people participate. And I think in this case, democracy is stronger when we run against people who are ineffective, weak, out of touch, and corrupt.
I'm reading here you have raised, as of 3 weeks ago, about $275,000 in your challenge. Where do things stand now, and where are your supporters mostly coming from?
All across the country, we raised over $300,000 now from, I believe, about 12,000 individual donors from every state in the country, every territory. My opponent only raised about $14,000. She's about $4.3 million in debt. That goes back to that COVID overpayment. She's under a House Ethics Committee investigation for campaign finance violation. So this is not someone that can raise a lot of money. So I'm running against someone who is embroiled in scandal, can't raise any money, fighting a lawsuit from the state of Florida for COVID overpayments. This is not what we need to fight back against Donald Trump. We need someone with a bold vision to tackle the housing crisis, to tackle inflation, the cost of goods, those kitchen table issues.
A lot of people have lost confidence in Washington, D.C. from both parties. What do you envision the future, being as young as you are, pursuing a way forward?
Yeah, I think Democrats, we need to stand strong in our values. We need not just to be the party of opposition, but we need to be the party that talks about the issues. We're right on the issues. The climate crisis is real. We need to be bold in talking about the oligarchy and talking about the billionaires who are controlling our government and who are spending money to buy elections. We have to stop allowing this to happen. And I think that's the divide we're seeing in the Democratic Party now. We have a party where you have, 70-year-olds controlling the agenda, and you have people like me who are in our 20s who understand that we're going to grow up in a world where we have a climate crisis, where we have no health care, we can't afford to buy a home, and that's not an economy that works for people. And we've seen in 2024 as well, young men and young voters in general leaving the Democratic Party in droves. We have to do something differently, and the status quo won't work.
Well, we'll be watching this closely. Elijah, thanks for giving us some of your time this morning. Appreciate it.